the very briefest rundown of the relationship between the ultimate reality and humans for Catholicism. This nice little image of God. Of course, God is non-corporeal, so isn't no depiction of God does a good enough job of depicting the majesty of God. But this one is from Michelangelo's fresco on the Sistine Chapel, and it's as good as any. So we'll use that one. And here, so any relationship has to go both ways. So you can see I've got two arrows, one going this way, one going this way. A true relationship's not a relationship if it just goes one way. So we've got to ask the question, what does the ultimate reality, what does God, the one triune and incarnate God, offer to humans? And what are humans called to offer back to God? That's what we talk about when we're talking about a relationship. So let's have a look at that. Ultimately, God offers humanity a relationship of love, as God is love. So God offers himself truly in a relationship of love. God offered us himself in the incarnation so that we might come to know his love. So what does that mean? That means when God became incarnate as the person of Jesus Christ, we were offered all of God as a gift, as coming to earth to show that love to us. Christ showed the extent of this love in his sacrificial death on the cross. Whilst innocent, he died as a ransom for our sins. So God's love is everlasting. This love that God gives us will never end. And ultimately, God calls all of humanity to share in his blessed life, meaning humanity is called to become like God. This is quite an interesting idea that has been described as God became human so that humans can become God-like. We don't actually become God, of course, but we become more God-like, more holy, more loving, more giving. So that's the idea of the gift of Christ. That's a really nice segue into, well, what are humans supposed to offer back? So Christ, the incarnate God, calls us into an intimate relationship with God, inviting us to call God Father. Unlike some of the images of God as the distant, abstract being, the dominator, the king, when Jesus was asked, how should I pray? The response was, call God Father. This involves remaining in communication with God, praying, as St. Paul advocates, unceasingly. So what are we asked to do back to God? We're asked to talk to God, praying in all of our for all of our needs. Catholics, all humans, are called to return God's love with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our mind. When Jesus was asked, what are the most important two commandments, he gave, he was asked what was the most important commandment, and he gave two. He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, which refers back to a Jewish prayer called the Shema. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. So here, the first thing Christ asks us to do is to love God. As Christ offered himself to death, humans are also called to live a life of obedience and sacrificial love. So here we've got really clear examples of what has God offered to us and what are we called to offer back to God. Now, you might have other examples you could bring in. So God offers us the creation. God offers us whatever you might want to add into this. But this gives you some ideas of making sure whenever you get a question about relationship between ultimate reality and humans, you split that between ultimate reality to us and us back to ultimate reality.